Hello and welcome to Judy's Creations in Crochet. And today is the day you wait for all month. It is June the 1st, 2024. And this is the day that we have our slideshow. And for those of you that are new to my channel, first of all, welcome. I hope you enjoy what you see. At the beginning of every month, when I do the slideshow video, I also show a bird. We're doing tropical birds this year, and I show a picture of a bird, and then you use that picture and pick colors from it. You can pick just one color, you can pick several colors, whatever works, and you make an item in that color. And you can make anything you want. And yes, I'm a crocheter, so I appreciate all the crochet, but I also enjoy seeing knitted items. And I once saw somebody dye yarn to the colors. If you weave or felt or do some other yarn related project, you can do that as well. Remember, this is a make along, which means we are making along something together during that month, which means you really have to make the item that month. You can't go back in your stash, find something that happens to have the colors in it and say, here it is. And that's not right. We're all making something this month. Now, some of you have gone into your WIP or UFO, as I call it, UFO piles, and found something not finished and have completed it. If you've done a substantial amount, that's fine. But basically, you're making it or working on it this month. And I will also show you today the bird for next month, and we'll talk about the deadline date, another thing in a minute. But that's what's happening here every month. And people really seem to be enjoying the idea. They love working along with the color inspiration. They say that the bird inspiration really does kind of inspire them to look in their stash, find something, and then think of something to make, and it keeps them working. When, sometimes we lose our Crojo, as we're calling it, and this is just a way to keep them inspired to keep working on something. And we get a great variety of items. And this month we have a couple of things that we've never had before. It never ceases to amaze me of your creativity in thinking of things to make, things I would never think of. And in fact, I did something I would never really have expected to do. But anyway, so that's the next step. Is I have not yet shown the item I was making for the month. Now, I had a very frustrating month at coming up with a finished object for this month's crochet along or make along. As you know, I picked some black and yellow yarn, yellow not being my favorite, but I would work with it as it was a major color in the picture. And by the way, I'm going to put a picture of the bird up here while I'm talking so you can see what our inspiration was for this month. Or maybe I'll share the screen, whatever. I started out with the idea to do a brioche cowl and got frustrated with it very early on because you had to make, a long chain, join it into a circle, and then you single crocheted into the back hump, they call it, the bump on the back of the chain all the way around. That worked fine. And then the next row was, I think, double crochets into it. And I get around to the end of the circle and I find out the thing was twisted. It did not look twisted when I did the single crochets in the back bump, but somehow it was twisted and I was just very frustrated. And I always find those join the circles, somehow they're my nemesis, I guess. And I just said, I don't need to put that aside. So then I found another pattern that was done a little differently. It was done in rows, rows that went back and forth. It would be going up and down, and it mimicked brioche. And I started on it, and I found that it really, really did not look like brioche, and you were working backwards. And I got a start on it, and then I won't talk a lot about it, but I just had a medical emergency happen to someone I care about very much and I'm responsible for. And of course, that sort of shattered my focus. And I came back to this thing, and working backward on a row, I didn't have the concentration for it. And it has thrown my whole week totally out of kilter. So I said, I got to do something real easy that I can do in a day or so and not have to focus, because I had no focusing power. So I decided that I have a lovey that is a lovey. I made a lovey. I had a little stuffed animal that was a toucan. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to make a yellow and black dress or blanket, whatever you want to call it, for this toucan. So I made it a lovey for it. Now, I can't say I'm very excited about it, because this particular toucan had no yellow in him. He was very multicolored, and some other color would have been better in his outfit than this. And in fact, I had previously had a penguin that was all black and white, little bit of gray, and he had yellow in his chest. This would have been perfect for that particular stuffed animal, but I decided I wasn't going to be doing loveys anymore, and I gave them all away. I wish I had kept that one. This would have been perfect on that particular animal. It's not perfect on this one, because look at all his bright colors. He does have a little bit of yellow, but he's a toucan. He's a lot of black, and I put this black and yellow on him for the time being. That's my finished object. And it's a very sad offering for this month. Hopefully I can do better next month. He had another skirt that I'll probably put back on him. But anyway, there's what I did this month with my yellow and black from that picture. Enough about that. So we're going to get right into the slideshow. I think I'm going to give a try. If it doesn't work, you'll see me splitting the screen. But I think I'm going to try to make the picture fill the frame, and I'll just talk behind it. That way you'll get a better look at the pictures. So we're starting right off the bat with Deb M. from Arizona, who is very quick to get me this free-handed bandana cowl. So I'm guessing she did her own thing for this cowl. And I told her, since she was so early, she would have to do something more this month. And she took me at my word, and eventually, later in the month, also submitted this scarf, which I think is called Stripes, and the pattern's by Smells Like Yarn. And she also submitted this cute little toucan with it, and it's called Cutie Garumi. And all of them use the same yarn, Swirly Whirly yarn, which perfect colors for this month. Following that, Tammy, who is in Ontario, submitted this dishcloth. And then we have the Never Ending Shawl, submitted by Rebecca, who is in Mississippi. And this shawl is a design by Wilmade. We'll hear her come up again. Never Ending Shawl. Then Linda from Illinois has submitted this scarf, and this was a Tunisian crochet scarf using the honeycomb stitch. Then Lisa, who is in Alberta, did her own design of this bag. Also in Canada, we have Lori from PEI. So we're going from almost the farthest west. Alberta is one province short of the west, all the way over to the far east, PEI. And she's showing us these Newfoundland mittens. And the pattern is by Gigi Hooper. She says she made a few modifications. Then coming back to the center almost of Canada, we get Lisa S., who is in Ontario. And she's done this Star Step shawl by Yarnspiration. And that Star Step shawl reminds me of another Stair Step, I think, shawl. Anyhow, that's Yarnspiration. Then we have Melissa. Melissa may have told me in the past where she's from, but if people don't tell me regularly, I don't remember. And she has made this scarf all yellows and blacks, and she's made it for a friend who is a Steeler and a Pirates fan, so definitely they'll appreciate those colors. And Hillary, who is somewhere in Canada, has crocheted this goose bag. She showed me the original inspiration for it. A crocheted goose bag, and the pattern is by Leah Angelina. I don't know where you would find that. Maybe it's in Ravelry. Now we go to Carmen, who is in California. And she has done this Shades of Spring shawl. And she says the pattern is by Teresa. I'm probably going to mess this up, but I'm going to say Corzepa. If you really want to find it, email me and I'll send you the name. Shades of Spring shawl. Then coming back to Ontario, we have from Rosanna this wheelchair lapgan. She does these regularly. I'm thinking the colors didn't come out true to color, and I believe the dark color in those squares are black. And of course, that will go into her donation bag. Then we have Carol Ann, who is in Kansas. And this is the first time we've had someone do a wind spinner. It's a very long picture, so I'm hoping I can get it in a way that you can see it. If it doesn't work out, I may have to flip the picture sideways to get it on the screen. Whatever, I'll do the best I can. It'll look weird if it's sideways, but it is a wind spinner that is hanging. Next, we have Tina from Australia. And she's done her own pattern for a scarf with half black and half yellow and the stripes going through it. Then we have Barbara B. And Barbara B. is from Missouri. And she's made this fidget ball. Apparently you can find them all over YouTube. I'm not familiar with them. But she says you pull from the middle and it's never ending. So that's a fidget ball, another new item. And Denise H., who is in Minnesota, says that she's using the colors every month to make hat and scarf sets. These winter sets go into a donation box for her, maybe at the end of the year when she's had all the colors. And Adam, who we know is in the UK, has been busy every month working on squares for a blanket that I hope we're going to see, several of you are doing this, hope we're going to see these blankets at the end of the year. And he has that ball of black there because he says ultimately he's going to join the squares with the black. And Barbara M. is in Alberta, Calgary, Alberta, and she made this cabin fever cowl. And this is a pattern by Yarn and Chai. Now, this is interesting. Renee, who is in Alabama, has made this kitty, and the pattern is by Diane, another follower of mine, and she is My Pink Bathtub. Diane didn't submit this month. She's been having family things to deal with. And Christine, you got to know I love that kitty. Christine is from Kentucky, and she is continuing to make her 10 by 10 squares. I don't think she told me what the pattern is or who it's by. Again, we're looking for that Afghan at the end of the year, Christine. And then Bonnie B. And Bonnie B is from Chatham. She's the one that went to Knit City, Toronto with me. And she has made this shawl that will ultimately go in our donation box. And then we have Joan from Arizona. And she has made this Christmas cowl. And it is by Yarn Geek. And she told me she was making one yellow item for the month and one black item for the month, and only managed to finish the yellow one, but it is a lovely cowl. Then we have Lynanne from Florida, and she has made the Tendril Shawl by Carmen Heffernan. And you may remember that I showed you that when I did the focus on Carmen Heffernan, I showed you the Tendril Shawl I had already made. So this is yellow with specks of all of those colors in it. Moving on, we come to Josephine, who is in North Carolina. And Josephine has made this Power Puff shawl by Will Made. Once again, a pattern by Will Made. It is a hobby shadow cake. And she was really concerned because it is much more vibrant, but it was coming across washed out. She said she had a problem with her camera, I believe. But anyhow, this is the Power Puff by Will Made. Next we have Janet. I believe this is her first time submitting, and Janet is from Singapore. And she has made this baby blanket and no actual pattern, just a series of double crochets and chain and skip a space. Then Meredith from Ohio has made this pet blanket. She donates these, I guess, to her local shelter. And she's also started to work on a square of the month. It's a 6-day granny square crochet, and she's getting started. She's going to go back and catch up. And the pattern or the knit along, crochet along, whatever, is by Betty McKnit. And Judy T. Judy is in Ontario, and she's been doing the monthly Serendipity Square by Loopy Stitch. She says she needs 16 of these, so we don't give her enough in one year. She's going to have to duplicate some of the colors or do her own thing. again, that's something I want to see put together at the end of the year. And Marie, who is from Virginia, has submitted this colorful blanket. She says she's made the blanket for Boggy Creek. And then she's also showing us a shawl. As she says, no, I think she didn't send me the shawl because it wasn't quite done. Too bad. I think if it was close, I'd have shown it anyway. But that's a colorful blanket. Kathy, who is in Ontario, and I met Kathy at Knit City, and she has done this poncho, and it's Ophelia talks about crocheting a poncho in a weekend. That would be the tutorial or video that this came from. And her concern was that her camera doesn't always show the colors properly, but that the yellow in that was much brighter than it was coming across. It's Raylene next who had the camera problem. Raylene is from South Australia, and she apologizes for this very poor picture, which is somewhat blurry. She apparently lost or dropped her original good phone, and now she's using an older one that takes very poor pictures. So it is kind of blurry when I put it up to full size. It looks a little better when it's a thumbnail, but it's a granny lace ripple blanket. I'm thinking the name of it is The First Rock from the Sun. I'm not really sure. And it is a tutorial, so it could be found on YouTube. Then Debbie P., who is in Arizona. We have two Debbies. This is Debbie P. She's done this Sakura skinny scarf. It's just a recent release from Sweet Crochet Dreams. Sweet Crochet Dreams is Mariana Mueller, who I did a focus on maybe just a month ago, and since then she's released this pattern. So Debbie did it. And then the next thing Debbie made, here's the first for me, she made an egg apron. Her niece asked for it. I guess they have a chicken farm. And it's from a tutorial by Heart, Hook, and Home. And I believe they are a channel on YouTube. And Lillian also is making squares. Lillian is in Ontario. Another Afghan we'll be looking for at the end of the year. Lots of Afghans happening. And then we have Cheryl, who is from Oregon, and she made this shawl, which is from Hobie. She didn't give me the name of the shawl. It's a shawl that can be found in Hobie. I believe they're pretty much free patterns. And then we have Judith. Pretty sure she told me last month where she's from, but I don't remember. People, I really appreciate if you tell me every time. And she's made this wrap or shawl. She says it looks a lot like a scarf, but it is a wrap. And it's called Rivers Shawl. And it's a YouTube tutorial by Rich Textures Crochet. And then we have Bonnie S. from Pennsylvania. And Bonnie has been busy. In this picture, you're going to see the Happy Sun Towel Topper by Nana's Crafty Home. You're then going to see the Harmony Hand Towel. That one's a little harder to see, and it's from Hirschner's. And then the Granny Square Heart is a pattern by Bella Coco Crochet. And the Smiley Face Granny Square is by Craft Passion. And finally, the Sunny Granny Square is by Craigie's Crochet. And I had that come up again in a minute, so I'm thinking Craigie's Crochet is a YouTube tutorial channel. YouTube channel. Get a little drink here. Then Naomi from Washington, she is starting to do her own designs, and this is one of them, a shawl. She's a few rows short of completing it, but it was enough for us to see the shawl. And she will now start writing the pattern, and I believe I'm going to be a tester for this pattern. So I look forward to giving it a try. I see some of the virus type stitches in there, which I always enjoy, plus some other things. So that's, we don't have a name. Maybe Naomi, if you don't have a name, you can put it out there in YouTube world and see what people think. Then we have HD. Again, I don't know. I know she's told me before where she's from. And she has done this kid size knitted top. I believe she has been testing this pattern for the designer. Then we have Cindy from Costa Rica. And she had this big blanket sitting in timeout for a very, very, very long time. And the bird this month inspired her to get it back out, do some black squares, maybe another square as well. And she put a black border on it. I looked at both pictures and I can't actually see the border. She said it was quite big. She had to put this blanket on a table to do it. And I think she went around it 3 times with the black border. So I'm glad I inspired you to get something out and finish it up. And I'm quite sure this will be a donation from her. And then finally, we have Debbie W., and she's from California. And she's made this bag with the sun and moon granny squares. I just have the one side. And it again is by Craigie's Crochet. Again, a tutorial on YouTube. But I picked the side that showed the sun and the moon. So altogether, our numbers are down this month. Doesn't surprise me. We had 38 people submit items for our slideshow, down a bit from last month. But that doesn't surprise me because, first of all, this is May, and I have a feeling for a lot of people in the Northern Hemisphere at least, this is the month that gets you out in your garden and you're a little bit busier and possibly don't have time to devote to crochet. Although, as you can see by some of the submissions and even what I did, doing something that you can do in one day is certainly okay with us. You know, if you want to submit something smaller, that's perfectly fine. So 38 submissions for the month. Hopefully maybe June will be a little better month. I'm going to put a call out later. I'm not going to talk about that right now. So I want to thank all of you for your submissions. You can see we have people from the Southern Hemisphere, Singapore being new, some from Australia. We missed a few of our people from some of the other countries we often hear from. Again, people have a life and they get busy. So our next order of business is for me to open up my other iPad. I did this, almost forgot at the last minute this morning. And here is our wheel of names. Again, we have to get it so it's not. Try to get that. There's everybody's name. I'm going to tap it. We will wait for it to stop. And the winner is Barbara M. Barbara M is in Alberta. That was a close one, wasn't it? I thought we were going to have a different winner. But Barbara M, congratulations. I haven't even pulled out the cake of yarn, but I will go down today and find a cake of yarn that I can send you. I already have your address, I'm pretty sure. If not, I will email you and ask for your address. But congratulations, Barbara. She's a very faithful follower and submits something every single month. So thank you again to all 38 of you. I appreciate every one of your submissions. Next, we need to talk about next month. So, are we ready to see the new bird? I know that everybody is always waiting on the edge of their seat to see what the next month is. And I know some people, after they submit their monthly picture, they're getting anxious and impatient to see the next month so they can get started. So here is this one, I think in some ways is easier. It's not full of a bunch of colors. And I think it might be a color that a lot of people have somewhere in their stash. So here it is, June. Now I think I've given you long enough to get a snapshot of that bird, because I know a number of you pull up the picture of the bird on your own channels when you're showing what you're making for the month. So I'm quite sure you had enough time. So that bird, to me, I see the birds. I don't see the background. I know some of you look at that as well. And I went looking for through my stash to find a bird, a skein of yarn with that color. And this is what I have come up with. I think, now it does have splashes of purple in it, but basically I think this is the color of the bird. Aqua or turquoise, everybody calls, that family different words. But this is the yarn I came up with. It is 4-ply superwash merino silk stellina. I don't really feel the silk in it. And it's from a company called Cozy. And it says that it's been hand painted in Cornwall, UK. So this is a company in the UK, and it is 400 meters, which gives me 437 yards. So it's the perfect length for, here is eCozy Yarns on Etsy. There's their information. I'll bring it up real close. Is it focusing? Hopefully you can make that out if you want to go and look at their yarn online. This is perfect for a 1 skein scarf. So I am quite likely to go, I might look at Carmen Heffernan, but I think I'm going to start by looking at CJ Brady. She has a lot of 1 skein yarn patterns that I like, and several that I've made before, and I may make one of them again in this color. I like this color, and because it has some purple in it as well, this is something that I might, and it's sparkle, of course. Can you see? I think you can see the sparkle a little bit. It has stellina in it, as I mentioned. So, well, there's sparkle up there. So this very well may be added to my own wardrobe when I get it done. By the way, I am wearing a sweater made with Sparkle DK from EFA. I can't tell you the pattern. I made it a couple years ago, and I love the blues, the denim-y look, and I get a lot of wear out of it. So anyway, this is what I'm going to be working on the next month. On Thursday, I'm going to talk about several things that I'm going to be working on in the future. So there we have it. The yarn and the bird And now one last thing to talk about, and that is deadline dates. And people, keep in mind, I need it by midnight of the night of the date I give you, Eastern Standard Time. If it comes in the middle of the night, it doesn't matter what time, but I need it by that next morning because I start to work on this video the very next day. So please pay attention to the date. June, we're doing June, and June the 30th is the end of the month. It's on a Sunday, and July the 1st is on a Monday. I kind of like it when the first of the month is kind of around the weekend because that gives me a little time between my two Thursdays. And even though July the 1st is a holiday, and I realize you won't all be watching my video on July the 1st, I'm still going to put it out there, July the 1st, like I always do. You can watch it when you have time to watch it. And that makes everything consistent. And people who are anxious to see the next bird and the colors, it comes on the 1st. So, being that that's a Monday, I need Saturday and Sunday. I think I'm going to tell you, I'm not going anywhere for the long weekend. So I'm going to tell you that June the 28th, which is a Friday, will be your deadline date. And the other good thing is I always do a video on Thursday, and I can remind some of you that may have forgotten to get their picture in. I can do that in my Thursday video, remind you that you have one more day to get it in. So we're going to say, I'm going to get a pen and circle this. We're going to say June the 28th is the deadline. And I always post the bird of the month and deadline and whatever in Instagram. So a lot of you are on Instagram. If you aren't, you may want to think about getting on there. The picture's always there for the bird of the month. And the deadline date will be in the information under the pictures. So that's what's ahead for June. And I have to tell you, I'm looking forward to doing this much more than I did last month. I don't know how quickly I'm going to get to it. Maybe I should start right now, but I have another thing that starts the beginning of June. But anyway, that's enough for now. So that is our slideshow and inspiration picture for this month. I hope you like that color and you're inspired right away to come up with something to make. And in the meantime, I will be back on Thursday with my usual video. I want to do a little bit of a warning that it might be a little shorter than I'm used to, just due to the circumstances going on in my life right now. But in the meantime, happy hooking.